She funded his medical degree for 8 years. She worked double shift at the hospital. She sacrificed everything because she loved him. But today, he is marrying her cousin. Her cousin from childhood told him lies. Nonso believed the lies without asking her. And now Ngozi is wearing the wedding dress that should have been Chioma's. But what goes around comes around. In the bustling city of Enugu, Nigeria, there lived a young woman named Chioma. She was a dedicated nurse at the General Hospital, known for her kindness and her unwavering work ethic. Her closest companion since childhood was her cousin Ngozi, a glamorous fashion designer and social media influencer from Lagos. They had grown up together in the same family compound, sharing secrets under the moonlight and dreaming about their futures. Chioma and Ngozi were like sisters. Everyone in their family knew they were inseparable. One ordinary afternoon, Chioma was finishing her shift at the hospital when she met Nonso. He was a struggling pre-med student who had come to the hospital for an internship program. Nonso was intelligent and ambitious, with dreams of becoming a renowned doctor. He had a warm smile that made Chioma's heart skip a beat. Soon, they fell deeply in love. Nonso would wait for Chioma after her shift, carrying her bag and walking her to the bus stop. They would sit at the hospital cafeteria and talk for hours about their dreams. Ngozi seemed happy for her cousin, teasing Chioma about how Nonso had stolen her heart. Chioma and Nonso planned to get married once he completed his medical degree. Then reality hit. Nonso's family could not afford his medical school fees. He was on the verge of dropping out, his dreams crumbling before his eyes. Seeing the desperation and pain in the man she loved, Chioma made a selfless decision. She would fund his entire medical education. "I will work double shifts," she told him with determination in her eyes. "You focus on your studies, become the doctor you were meant to be, then you will come back and marry me." Nonso was overwhelmed with gratitude. He promised her that once he became a doctor, she would be his wife and they would build a beautiful life together. After Nonso left for medical school in Lagos, Chioma moved in with his aunt to show her commitment and to help with household expenses. However, Nonso's aunt treated her like a servant rather than a future family member. Chioma would wake up at 4 in the morning, prepare breakfast for the entire household, then rush to the hospital for her morning shift. She worked 12-hour shifts, sometimes even 16 hours when they were short-staffed. Her feet ached, her back hurt, and exhaustion became her constant companion. After her shifts, she would return to Nonso's aunt's house and cook dinner, wash dishes, and clean the compound. No matter how hard she worked, the aunt only found fault. The food was too salty. The floors were not clean enough. She was too slow, too tired, not grateful enough. But Chioma bore it all with patience and grace. She lived for Nonso's phone calls. Every month, she sent him money for his tuition, his textbooks, his accommodation, and his feeding. She bought his medical equipment. She paid for his exam fees. When her own shoes wore out, she continued wearing them because Nonso needed new scrubs. When her phone screen cracked, she didn't fix it because Nonso needed to renew his medical association membership. 8 years passed this way. 8 long years of sacrifice, suffering, and unwavering love. As the years went by, 4 years became 5, then 6, then 7. Nonso's phone calls became less frequent. When they did speak, he sounded distant, distracted, sometimes even irritated. Chioma told herself he was just stressed from his studies. She told herself that once he graduated, everything would go back to normal. She told herself that her sacrifice would be worth it. Meanwhile, in Lagos, Ngozi had discovered Nonso's social media profile. She saw his photos in medical school, looking handsome in his white coat, posting about his upcoming graduation. She saw his potential, his future as a doctor, and jealousy took root in her heart like a poisonous seed. Why should Chioma, who was just a simple nurse, have a doctor for a husband? Why should her cousin live a better life than her, despite all of Ngozi's designer clothes and social media followers? Ngozi wanted what Chioma had. She began sending Nonso friend requests, liking his photos, commenting on his posts. Soon they were chatting daily on WhatsApp. Ngozi was beautiful, sophisticated, well-connected in Lagos social circles. She knew all the right things to say. And slowly, carefully, she began to plant poison in Nonso's mind. She sent him messages late at night. I hate to be the one to tell you this, but I care about you too much to let you be deceived. Your Chioma is not who you think she is. Nonso's heart skipped. What do you mean? He typed back. Ngozi's response came quickly, each word calculated. She has become a party girl. She goes to clubs with doctors at her hospital. Everyone in Enugu knows. I have seen photos. She sleeps with men for money. That is how she has been funding your school, not from her salary. I am so sorry. I thought you should know the truth before you waste your life on her. Nonso stared at the messages, his word tilting. He wanted to ask Chioma, to hear her side, to give her a chance to defend herself. But Ngozi sent more messages, more fabricated evidence, more poison. If you ask her, she would just lie. She is very good at lying. Everyone knows except you. I am telling you as family, as someone who cares about your future. And Nonso, who should have known better, who should have trusted the woman who had sacrificed everything for him, believed every single word. He called Chioma, but not to ask questions. He called to accuse, to insult, to destroy. You are a prostitute, he shouted into the phone. You disgust me. I cannot believe I wasted 8 years on you. We are finished. Do not ever contact me again. Then he hung up. Chioma stood frozen, the phone still pressed to her ear, unable to breathe, unable to think, unable to understand what had just happened. The next morning, Nonso's aunt dragged her belongings outside and threw them into the street. Prostitute. Shameless woman. Get out of my house, she screamed for all the neighbors to hear. Chioma gathered her scattered belongings with shaking hands and returned to her mother's small house, her heart shattered into 1,000 pieces, her 8 years of sacrifice turned to ash. 6 months later, the wedding invitation arrived. Nonso was getting married in Lagos. The bride's name was listed, Ngozi. Chioma's Ngozi. Her cousin. Her childhood companion. Her sister. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife could. The wedding was grand, funded by the money Nonso had saved from his new job as a doctor, money that existed because Chioma had paid for everything during his school years. It was held at a 5-star hotel in Victoria Island, with a massive reception, a live band, and hundreds of guests. Chioma could not stay away. Some part of her needed to see it with her own eyes, needed to confirm that this nightmare was real. She stood at the back of the hotel venue, wearing her old nurse uniform because she had just finished a shift and had no money for new clothes. Through the glass doors, she watched Nonso in his expensive tuxedo, looking handsome and successful. She watched Ngozi in a designer wedding gown that cost more than Chioma earned in 6 months, glowing with triumph. She watched them kiss as husband and wife while guests cheered and cameras flashed. And Chioma wept silently in the rain that had begun to fall, her tears mixing with the raindrops, her heart dying with each passing moment. But happiness built on lies and betrayal is a house built on sand, and it was only a matter of time before it all came crashing down. 3 months after the wedding, Chioma was working the night shift at the hospital. It was 2 in the morning, the quiet hours when the world seemed to hold its breath. Suddenly, the emergency room doors burst open. Paramedics rushed in with a woman on a stretcher, unconscious and bleeding heavily. It was a severe pregnancy complication. The woman was in critical condition. As they moved her under the bright lights, Chioma's heart stopped. The woman on the stretcher was Ngozi. For a moment, Chioma stood frozen. Every instinct screamed at her to walk away, to let karma take its course, to let Ngozi face the consequences of her betrayal. But Chioma was a nurse. She had taken an oath. More than that, despite everything, despite the pain and the betrayal, Chioma was a good person. She rushed forward. I've got this, she told the other nurses. For the next 6 hours, Chioma worked tirelessly to save Ngozi's life. She administered medication, monitored vital signs, assisted the doctor with emergency procedures. She used every bit of her skill and experience. She fought for Ngozi's life as if it were her own. And finally, as dawn broke over Enugu, Ngozi's condition stabilized. She would survive. But the baby was lost. When Ngozi opened her eyes and saw Chioma standing beside her hospital bed in nurse's scrubs, reality crashed over her like a wave. Tears began streaming down her face, not from physical pain, but from shame and guilt. "Chioma," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You saved me. After everything I did to you, you saved my life." Chioma said nothing, her face professionally neutral. Ngozi continued, the words pouring out like a confession. "I need to tell you the truth. I need to tell you everything." And then Ngozi revealed what Chioma had never suspected. "Nonso came to me first, Chioma. He asked me to lie about you. He wanted to marry me because I am a fashion influencer with connections in Lagos. He said you were too local, too simple, too embarrassing for a doctor's wife. He told me exactly what lies to tell him so he could break up with you without feeling guilty. He used me, Chioma. Just like he used you. He orchestrated the whole thing." Chioma felt the ground shift beneath her feet. The man she had loved and sacrificed for had not just believed lies. He had created them. He had planned his own betrayal. He had thrown away 8 years of her devotion not out of deception, but out of calculated cruelty and social ambition. But Ngozi was not finished. And there is more. He does not visit me in the hospital. I lost our baby, and he has only called once to ask when I will be discharged so I can start making money again from my influencer page. He does not love me, Chioma. He never did. He married me for my connections and my income. We are both just tools to him." Over the next few days, as Ngozi recovered in the hospital, Chioma could not let go of what she had learned. Something did not add up. If Nonso was so calculating, so manipulative, what else was he hiding? Chioma had access to hospital records as a senior nurse. One sleepless night, she began to search. She pulled Nonso's name, cross-referenced it with medical licensing databases, checked his educational credentials. And what she found made her blood run cold. Dr. Nonso had never actually graduated from medical school properly. He had bribed his way through his final exams using the money Chioma had sent him. He had paid someone else to take his practical examinations. His medical license was fraudulent. He was not a real doctor. And that malpractice case that had recently been in the news, the one that had supposedly suspended his license. It was not a suspension. It was a cover-up. A patient had died because Nonso did not know how to perform a basic emergency procedure. He had killed someone through his incompetence and his lies. Chioma printed every document, every piece of evidence. Then she returned to Ngozi's hospital room. The two women sat together, two broken souls who had been betrayed by the same man. "He killed a patient," Chioma said quietly, showing Ngozi the documents. "And he is planning to open his own private clinic. He is going to do it again." Ngozi looked at the evidence, then at Chioma. "What do you want to do?" she asked. Chioma's eyes were hard as steel. "I want to make sure he never hurts anyone else again. Are you with me?" Together, they crafted the perfect plan. Ngozi would use her influence as a social media personality to promote the grand opening of Dr. Nonso's new private clinic. She would make it go viral, ensure that everyone in Lagos would be watching. Meanwhile, Chioma would anonymously submit all the evidence of Nonso's fraudulent credentials to the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria. They also reached out to Pastor Gabriel, a well-respected community leader who Chioma knew through her church volunteer work, and who had always admired her dedication and character. They invited him to be the guest of honor at the clinic's opening ceremony. The day of the grand opening arrived. It was a spectacle. Red carpets, ribbon cutting, cameras everywhere. Ngozi's influencer friends were live-streaming to thousands of viewers. Nonso stood at the center of it all in his pristine white doctor's coat, smiling confidently, posing for photos, giving interviews about his vision for affordable healthcare. He was on top of the world. And then the officials from the Medical and Dental Council arrived, flanked by police officers. The live streams captured everything. The shock on Nonso's face as they announced he was under arrest. The handcuffs clicking around his wrist. The charges being read aloud: medical fraud, practicing without a valid license, manslaughter. The crowd gasping. The cameras flashing. Nonso being led away while he shouted denials and excuses that no one believed. Within hours, the video had gone viral. 2 million views in 24 hours. Nonso's face was everywhere, not as the successful doctor he pretended to be, but as a fraud and a criminal. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison. 6 months after Nonso's arrest, Chioma's life took an unexpected turn. Pastor Gabriel had been deeply moved by her story, by her integrity, by the way she had saved Ngozi despite the betrayal, by her commitment to protecting future patients from Nonso's fraud. He began spending more time with her, and eventually, he asked her to marry him. Chioma, still healing but hopeful for a new beginning, said yes. But the marriage lasted only 4 months. Chioma realized that Pastor Gabriel, though kind and successful, was also controlling. He wanted her to quit nursing, to be a full-time pastor's wife, to give up her identity and her passion. He wanted to shape her into his image of the perfect wife. And Chioma, who had already sacrificed so much of herself for a man once before, refused to do it again. She filed for divorce. This time, she did not cry. She did not feel broken. She felt free. She took the settlement money from the divorce, every naira of it, and she invested it in a dream she had carried for years. She opened the Chioma and Ngozi Medical Academy, a private nursing school dedicated to training the next generation of healthcare workers. She offered scholarships to young women from poor families, the kind of women who reminded her of herself. And she asked Ngozi to be her business partner. Ngozi had changed. The trauma of losing her baby, of being used by Nonso, of nearly dying and being saved by the cousin she had betrayed, had transformed her. She could no longer live the superficial life of social media and designer clothes. She enrolled in counseling courses and became a therapist specializing in helping women escape toxic relationships. She wrote a best-selling book titled The Cousin Who Saved My Life, telling her story of betrayal, redemption, and sisterhood. All the proceeds went to funding scholarships at the academy. The two women became true partners, true sisters. They built an empire together, brick by brick, student by student, life by life. Their academy flourished. Within 3 years, they had trained over 500 nurses who went on to work in hospitals across Nigeria and beyond. In prison, Nonso received a letter. It was short, written in 2 different handwritings, signed by both Chioma and Ngozi. Dear Nonso, you taught us that the worst betrayal comes from the person you trusted most. But you also taught us something more important. Sisters are stronger than men who try to divide them. We are not visiting. We are not sending money. We are not thinking about you. We are too busy building empires. Thank you for showing us what we deserved all along. Each other. Chioma and Ngozi. 5 years passed. Nonso was released from prison, a shadow of the man he once was. He had no medical license, no reputation, no money, no home. He walked the streets of Lagos, broken and desperate. And then he saw it. A massive billboard in the heart of the city. It showed 2 women in white coats, arms around each other, smiling with genuine joy. The text read, Chioma and Ngozi Medical Academy. Training the next generation of healthcare heroes. He stood staring at that billboard for a long time, memories flooding back. The 8 years Chioma had sacrificed for him. The lies he had told. The lives he had destroyed. The empire he could have built with her if only he had been a better man. He walked to the academy building, thinking perhaps they might give him a job, any job, even as a cleaner. He just wanted to be near the success he had lost. But the security guard stopped him at the gate. I am sorry, sir, but you are banned from these premises. Owner's orders. Your name is on the list. Nonso turned and walked away in the rain that had begun to fall. He had nowhere to go. As he walked, a black SUV pulled up beside him. The tinted window rolled down slowly. It was Ngozi. She looked at him with an expression he could not quite read. Not anger. Not hatred. Something closer to pity. Nonso, she said quietly, there is a homeless shelter 2 blocks that way. They are hiring janitors. I made a call this morning. The job is yours if you want it. She did not wait for his response. The window rolled up, and the SUV drove away, its red tail lights disappearing into the rainy Lagos evening. Nonso stood alone on that street, watching the car vanish into the distance. He had once been destined for greatness, handed every opportunity, given unconditional love and sacrifice. And he had thrown it all away for pride, for status, for lies. Now the women he had betrayed were queens, and he was nobody. This was his karma. This was his justice. This was the consequence of betrayal. The story of Chioma, Ngozi, and Nonso teaches us lessons that echo through generations. Integrity matters. What is built on lies and betrayal will never stand the test of time. No matter how grand the wedding, how expensive the clinic, how perfect the image, a foundation of deceit will always crumble. Patience and goodness are rewarded. Chioma's suffering was long and painful, but her peace, when it finally came, was lasting and real. She did not get the man she thought she wanted, but she got something better: herself, her dignity, her purpose, and a true sister. Trust must be earned and verified. Nonso's downfall began the moment he chose to believe gossip and lies over the woman who had sacrificed everything for him. He never asked questions. He never sought truth. He simply believed what was convenient for his ambition. Sisterhood is stronger than betrayal. What began as the ultimate betrayal between cousins transformed into the most powerful alliance. Chioma and Ngozi proved that women do not have to be enemies, that healing is possible, and that together, they are unstoppable. Every action has consequences. Nonso thought he could use people and discard them without penalty. He learned too late that the universe keeps accounts, and payment always comes due. What goes around truly does come around. Remember this story the next time you are tempted to betray someone who loves you. Remember it when you think lies will get you further than truth. Remember it when you believe that good people finish last. Because in the end, the good people do not just finish. They win. They build empires. They find peace. And those who betrayed them are left standing in the rain, watching the taillights disappear, holding nothing but regret. The end. My name is Kelvin Odian and I am a storyteller.